Hello and welcome to the False Start Fantasy Podcast with your hosts Cameron and Josh. On this week's episode, we have a beautiful slate of NFL topics to cover, including the NFL draft order updates, as well as the NFL playoffs. But we will also be talking about the miserable, absolutely terrible division of the AFC South and the moves we think those teams should be making now that we are in the offseason for that entire division, except for the Jaguars, I guess, but maybe we're, 3 days early before they lose to the Chiefs? Right, Josh?
Yeah, 3 days early.
3 days early? Okay, well, we'll be giving them a
Three
little
days.
bit of head start. A little bit of head start for them. But before we jump all into that, Josh, how's everyone's favorite co-host doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well today. Had a day off from work, so I'm nice and relaxed.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good day. We were able to fill up the IDP Dynasty League that we're in. Even got someone to take over that 10th place roster that doesn't have the 101. So,
Poor soul.
yeah,
The brave man.
I don't understand that kind of masochism myself, but to each his own. Let's go ahead and jump into
Exactly.
a recap of the playoff predictions. Right now, Malachi is leading the league with 6 perfect predictions in the wild card round. Billy and I are in second with 5, and Josh only got 3 right. What happened in the NFC?
Apparently I know my AFC teams very well, and I do not know my NFC teams at all. Um, I made a few bold predictions, and Tom Brady did not show up, so the Cowboys actually did, except for the kicker, whatever his name is. He decided to a
Yeah,
mental rest day, I guess.
Brenton Mayer,
And for
Maher.
the Seahawks, Maher Mayer will go with one of those two.
Yeah.
And as far as Seahawks, thought they could pull something off. And beating a same team 3 times in one season is difficult. So I was like, maybe they could pull it off. And then I just underestimated the power of the G-men, apparently, with the Vikings game.
Yeah, it was a pretty good, I think, wild card round. I was not. Let's see, the Seahawks 49ers game, I wasn't that interested in it once we got to halftime. And then the Cowboys Bucks game was a bit of a stomp. But, I mean, if the Bucks had gotten one more touchdown near the end of that game when they got the onside kick, it would have been pretty interesting. I mean, suddenly that game would have been, oh my God, Tom Brady is here.
But at least 4 to 6 games were interesting, so very good weekend.
Yep. Well, let me ask you then, what was your favorite playoff game of the wild card round?
Didn't like the outcome just because I was rooting for my boy Skylar Thompson, but I did enjoy watching the Dolphins Bills game. Surprisingly close, and someone just grabbed the stickum for Jalen Waddle so he could learn how to catch a fucking pass.
Oh my God, the
Four,
Gesicki drop
4 times.
and the Waddle drop.
Skylar Thompson. Yeah. Skylar Thompson was throwing dimes. A lot of his passes were on point, and when they were perfect, all of a sudden these receivers who had been going beast mode the entire season just like, I forget how to catch now.
Yeah, that's pretty
So it
much
was disappointing to
exactly it.
watch that, but it was a fun game to watch, seeing the ebb and flow between who was winning, who wasn't.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting with that, just seeing um, like Skylar Thompson wasn't great at quarterback position, and I don't think Tyreek Hill had the game that he had hoped to have in that game. But the defense for the Dolphins seemed to be stepping up a bit, and it really makes you a little concerned about what Josh Allen looked like. It looked like he was holding the ball too long, and he was forcing bad time and completions because really the Dolphins secondary and Dolphins defense was not really giving him the looks he wanted out there. And credit to the Dolphins defense for making him uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was a very good defensive game plan from the Dolphins that almost worked out in the end, but couldn't do it there.
Yeah, in the end, I mean, I think of if the Bengals had what's their corner's name that's really good, got injured a few weeks ago. Was it like week 7? Oh man, why can't I think of the name? But I don't know. And then obviously Eli Apple's across from him, but um, Awuzie, Chidobe Awuzie, um, cornerback there. He's been really good. And Eli Apple across from him hasn't been too bad. He obviously has the big plays that he's not getting sometimes, but he's had plenty that were fine. But I think the Bengals will do a much better job on defense and aren't going to give up as many points. And then their offense is obviously a lot better than the Skylar Thompson led Dolphins. But
It'll
any
be a good
predictions?
game.
Predictions on that matchup? I think you had Bills at the start of playoffs. Have you changed your mind or still sticking with them?
I'm going to stick with it. I think the championship game will be held in Atlanta, sadly. As much as I would like it to be back in Arrowhead, that means we have to play the Bengals again. I'd rather not go through that pain again.
Yeah, I think I'll be rooting for the Bills
Josh Allen.
myself. Yeah, I don't want uh, Chiefs to play the Bengals. Just absolutely terrified of the Bengals, but I think we can beat the Bills. I just think we keep doing it, and the Bengals keep beating us. So it's like either way,
Yes,
it's gonna
Josh
be
Allen just.
a revenge game for one of the teams. It's just about who, which side it's gonna be when they play the Chiefs, and I'd say there's still a chance
Yeah,
the Jaguars can win, of course, but not that great of a chance.
I don't see it happening, honestly. There's just not enough firepower. Don't get me wrong, they're playing fantastic football, but I just don't think they have enough.
Yeah, I we'll get into the Jaguars later when we talk about breakdown of their team. But on the NFC side, we have the Eagles are playing the Giants. I think we can both say that's going to be a one-sided stomp for the Eagles, and the Cowboys will be playing the 49ers. What do you want to talk about the Eagles Giants, or just
I
Cowboys
think it's going to be
49ers?
close. I think both games are actually going to be close. I don't know. Something tells me the Giants have something up their sleeve still. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they're going to keep it at least interesting towards the end. As far as Cowboys Niners, kind of hope the Cowboys win this one, which ugh, that tastes awful saying that out loud, but um, sorry, you know my feelings on Brock Purdy. I'm tired about hearing Brock Purdy this, Brock Purdy that. Just lose. You don't have to do anything in that offense. I could be a starting offensive quarterback for the Niners and win.
Yeah, um, Brock Purdy. I just traded him and Matt Ryan for Aaron Rodgers in our dynasty league. So um, I think
That's
that
funny though.
there's some believers in Brock Purdy, and maybe that's just a Aaron Rodgers hater who had him, but ended up pretty
Yeah,
good.
Lions fan with Aaron Rodgers. It's an interesting combo.
Yeah, I think the front seven, front nine, if you want to call them that, from the Eagles is just way too good. Um, Here's the nose tackles on the Eagles depth chart: Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Ndamukong Suh. Like that's just a nose tackle.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, if they're running 3-4, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Linval Joseph, Robert Quinn, and it's just like, oh my god, those guys are going to be murdering that banged up Cowboys line. Um, or not Cowboys, Giants line. And if Saquon Barkley can't get anything done on the ground, the play action threat goes away, and then the linebackers who are there are going to be able to match up with the uh, tight ends and running backs that are coming out of the flat and all that. And then it's C.J. Gardner Johnson and Darius Slay locking up um, your boy. Oh my God, why can I not think of the Giants' leading receiver?
Isaiah Hodgins?
Yeah, Isaiah Hodgins, locking up your boy Isaiah Hodgins, your last waiver weapon of the year, and Richie
How it
James
worked.
and Darius Slayton. Like,
I forgot how few weapons they have outside of Saquon.
yeah, it's really bad, and it's just the Eagles top to bottom. I mean, we're talking about one of the best offensive lines, one of the best wide receiver corps with Brown and Smith. Miles Sanders has had an amazing year. Quarterback Jalen Hurts was an MVP candidate before he got hurt, and just a dominant defense. I seriously cannot think of a hole on this team, and that's not good.
Yeah, I don't know. Giants just hang in there. They're scrappy. I think it'll be an interesting game.
I think they're really well coached. I think that'll be a huge difference. But the other matchup here is the Cowboys 49ers. You said you want the Cowboys to win because you're a 49ers hater. I think I see the vision there. I worry a little bit about the linebackers behind Micah Parsons, who's really an edge rusher at this point. Uh, like they're still running Leighton Vander Esch out there and Anthony Marr, who's um, 30 years old. Anthony Barr, 33, however old he is. Like, I really worry about what they're going to do if the 49ers just keep running the ball into their face. But um, Cowboys,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, the best defense, and then you have like the best big play defense there is. So it'll be very interesting to see how they match up. And I think it comes down to which version of Dak do we see? Do we see the one from Monday night, or do we see the one from the regular season with 30 interceptions, even though he missed 5 games?
I honestly think you're right. It really is going to come down to the turnovers because CeeDee Lamb can absolutely torch Javarius Ward in the same way that DK Metcalf did. Like he can be that dominant guy and just go over the top of the 49ers secondary, who really are kind of rough, and Hufanga's not the best in pass coverage. Um, so it's like there's definitely a weakness there. They can find that, but it's just like if Dak's off his game just even a little bit, those balls are getting picked instead, and hey, the defensive line is going to be just burrowing down on him in every play, so he's got to play mistake-free football. So
Yeah, big plays on the defense. That's what this game comes down to, in my opinion.
yeah. Well, I think that's enough on the NFL playoffs. Update on the draft order. Uh, we have the Lions with the 18th pick was already there. They were the last of the regular season teams to be defeated. But then it goes Tampa Bay, Seahawks, Dolphins, Chargers, Ravens, Vikings. And of these teams that are mostly 9-8, 10-7, who do you think is feeling the worst right now?
The Seahawks, they're happy just to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Say the Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers spent a lot of money this offseason and just fell short again. Um, I think the
I guess.
Vikings fans are really gonna be hurting. That's an old
Yeah.
defense, and it's not looking good on their cap hits, and it's just they're all getting older. I don't know how many of these players you can keep around any longer. I think Thielen has like a $20 million cap hit next year. Like, uh, it's not going to be looking good for the
Hurts.
Vikings. Yeah, um, I'd say that the Tampa Bay is probably feeling pretty horrible too. I don't think Brady's going to stick around another year. I think he'll go to a different team, and then it's just they're all old. They've figured out nothing for a backup quarterback. It's just not looking good there. But
I mean, from what I've heard, Florida is a good place for retirement, so that makes sense with Tampa.
you have a good point there. we'll get into the Tampa Bay and that division when we get to the NFC, but I think the Dolphins and the Seahawks and honestly the Ravens should all be pretty happy with how their season went though. Obviously everyone wants to win the Super Bowl, but I think with Lamar going down, Dolphins having tons of quarterback injuries, and Seahawks being a really weak rostered team, I think those three teams can be pretty happy that they made it this far.
Yeah, you could have said it better on that one.
Yeah, we'll get into the NFL draft and what we expect of those teams later, but right now, a quick update on our sleeper dynasty leagues. We're still looking for three more spots on three more players for our sleeper dynasty league that we're running, and then our IDP league right now is messages are blowing up. I don't know if you've been reading those while we've been doing the podcast, but it's going kind of wild.
A few. A lot of roster moves for the unfortunate soul.
Yeah, we for those who are not in the league, we opened up the 10th place spot in our dynasty league and told them, "Hey, you have free reign over all waiver players right now, so go ahead and make as many roster moves as you want. At 8 o'clock tomorrow, the rest of us will take our turn." So he is definitely taking advantage of that. I think he's already made 11 roster moves. So
it's quite a bit already.
Yeah. How are you feeling about your team next year?
I need picks. I don't have a pick until the third round. Made a trade so I can get Ken Walker, so I'm not too disappointed in that. Did have 2 first-round picks this last draft, so hopefully Sky Moore does something. But definitely looking to get some more picks. Now I have Kyler Murray and Derrick Henry on the trade block, so I might be able to get some decent picks out of those two. And not necessarily full rebuild, but start rebuilding this team to where it can compete.
Yeah, I think it's gonna.
There, I just need a tiny bit more.
Yeah, you're gonna need some of those taxi players to hit, and I think you've got the chance. And really got to be smart about the rookie picks you have. We'll see what the league looks like with all these new players in it, but I'm pretty pumped about it. We'll see if some of my players stay on my team, but we'll go ahead.
Good luck picking up a light.
Yeah. He's just making a ton of roster moves. My phone is just nonstop buzzing in my pocket right now. We'll go ahead and move on to what a new segment that we're adding into the Fall Start Fantasy podcast with the new year, new me look we got going on. We decided to create a new logo for the podcast. We're transitioning to more of a audio only podcast. Maybe we'll have some videos out there, but right now just kind of focusing on the audio side. And we're going to be talking about the Divisional Roundup is what we're calling this segment. Hope to have a drop eventually, but who knows. And we're going to go ahead and start with the AFC South because I think they were the worst division in football this year, if you ask me. NFC South was abysmal, but the NFC South, at least, every team there was competitive for the division. I don't think we can say that about the AFC South. And they got a couple open positions in the coaching tree, so we'll be talking about that. And Josh, I'll throw it to you first. Who do you want to talk about first?
Let's just go down the rankings how they finished the season. Let's start with the Jags. Soon to be knocked out of the playoffs, Jags.
I like it. All right. So head coach Doug Peterson did an awesome job turning the team around this year. I see no reason to get rid of him or either of the coordinators. Would you agree there?
You can maybe make an argument for the defensive one, but that's a very weak argument at that because he did some good stuff and can easily address that with draft and agents. So give him at least another shot.
Yeah, I agree. If you really wanted to, you could, but I don't see any reason to. The team had a bad defense going into the year, and then hey, all of a sudden we have a great defense, or at least an above average defense. And A few guys that are really interesting in talking about. Josh Allen, of course, has been above average linebacker. I like what he does in the pass rush. Chad Muma and Foyese Aluakon of the other two linebackers there. I like what they've been able to do. And then Andre Cisco, the defense. I think he's been doing a good job.
Remember the earlier Chiefs-Jags game, Cisco looked really good. So
yeah, it was scary watching him. I'm a big fan of cover one defense with the one high safety, and Cisco has the athleticism, I think, to moving around. But don't sleep on Rashawn Jenkins. He's got some interesting talent there. But what is the vision you're looking at for next year? What should the Jaguars be looking to do?
So, you know me, I'm a big O-line person. If they can shore up their O-line, that'd be a good start. Maybe in the second round, maybe a first round pick, depending if they would win, maybe first round pick, but second round for sure. They get one of the best linemen that you can, because at least per Pro Football Network, unfortunately, I do not have money, so I'm not paying for Pro Football Focus. Sorry, folks, I have to use stuff that's free. They did rank 19th best O line, which below average, but not bad per se. When it comes to passing protection, they allowed the sack on 4.46% of their passes, which wasn't awful. The worst was Chicago with 13%, which we'll talk about that at a later date. But definitely try to get a lineman probably in the first 2, maybe 3 rounds if someone drops enough. As far as offensive weapons, I think as long as they can keep everyone there, and I think they have everyone under contract, they should be okay. Maybe get another receiver in there if someone falls. Outside of those 2 picks, focus everything on your defense. Shore up that defense.
Yeah, so they're free agents they're going to have this year on the offensive side. Evan Ingram is the biggest one. He had a fantastic year. And I imagine they hope to bring him back. Marvin Jones is 33 years old. I think he'll just go ahead and retire. And then after that, it's guys like Chris Manderson and Dan Arnold, these backup tight ends. So they won't have any tight ends officially on the roster next year, but we'll see what they end up doing. And I imagine they'll also look towards the draft. Doug Peterson's a good tight end whisperer, so whatever tight end ends up there is going to be a good option. Right now, there is a little bit of concern, though, about their cap space. They're currently $20 million over the cap for next year, including a very small amount of dead cap they have with 1.4 million dead cap. But I imagine they'll be restructuring some contracts, and once they get that, we'll have a more accurate look at what their contracts look like. But if Evan Ingram comes back for a 4-year deal, 3-year deal, which I think he's deserved at this point for above average tight end money, I think they have a very good offense, and they've got good picks too.
I wouldn't be surprised if they used the franchise tag on him if needed.
Yeah, I don't think they let him walk. I don't think that's really an option, but they might franchise tag and then trade him or something if they can't come up with a deal. But they could just leave franchise tag on him and be happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who played in dynasty leagues, Trevor Lawrence is definitely a good player to have. He definitely took that big year 2 step that we hope to see, and I think I'll be pretty excited about what he can do in the 2023 season. So be an eye out there. So pretty much Jaguars keep it steady. Focus on the draft that's coming up once you're done with the playoffs, and really make sure that you're looking at the offensive line, and I think the defensive line and defensive backs are going to be really important to that team. But without a lot of cap space, I don't think they'll be signing a lot of big free agents. We'll go ahead we'll go ahead and jump into the Titans next. Titans this year were 24th in total touchdowns. Now I know that they were missing Ryan Tannehill for large portions of the year, and they definitely went through their fair share of injuries. But I don't know about you, but I am terrified for the Titans. Everything is just looking bad for that team. Their players are old. I think, have as far as they can go with the Ryan Tannehill um, experience as you go. So it's just kind of, what's the plan here? you know?
Um, Defensively, they're not worse. They're very middle of the pack. And I know they had some pretty big injuries on the defensive side, so maybe shore up some of those positions. They still have studs. You have what's his name, Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons,
Is that
yeah.
right? Um, For me, I'd say your main focus should be offense. First and foremost, get a freaking quarterback that could do this thing called pass the football. It's a good start. Um, their passing game was horrendous. They ranked 30th, so pretty bad. If you can get a quarterback, whether it be free agent or take a chance, try to move up and get one of the better quarterbacks in this year's draft. Them, see if you can get something going with them. Try to get some receiving options. Shore up your O line if you can. O line was 26th best and had a sack nearly on 10% of their dropbacks. So combine that with a passing game, you can't get anything going. Um, you also they just need O linemen. You have King Henry. He still probably has another year, maybe two, where he's going to be at least good. So get some O linemen. Use King Henry. Get yourself a good quarterback, however you have to, or at least above average, higher than Ryan Tannehill. Get yourself some receivers. What changes you need to the defense if you have people leaving. Outside of that, I think that's what they need. They still have a really good head coach. Hopefully their new offensive coordinator will be competent and hope for the best.
Yeah, right now they've got Bud Dupree's 29 years old, Zach Cunningham's 28 years old, so they're on that. They're still fine, acceptable age. But then you've got Danico Autry's 32 years old. Their center Ben Jones is 33 years old. It's just not good what they're having to pay these players now that they're really up there in age. Taylor Lewan, their left tackle, is 31 years old and is on the he has 2 years left on a 5-year, $80 million contract, and right now they're expected to be 24 million over the cap, and they're going to be losing Austin Hooper, Josh Swaim, so both of their starting tight ends, and they were doing a lot of heavy sets. Dontrell Hilliard was a running back who fit in well um, when they needed someone to take the spot of Derrick Henry. Lonnie Johnson was a serviceable cornerback the year when they needed him, and it's just they're so far over the cap hit. Nick Westbrook-Akine was a guy who's a wide receiver that's going to be a free agent, and it's just a lot of concerns there for what the Titans are going to be doing with their current contracts. I don't know if you can completely blow it up, but I do think you should go out there and look at these guys like Taylor Lewan, Bud Dupree, who are still in a good spot, and see if you can trade them. They're good parts of the organization, and you're happy to have them. But I think you're going to need a lot of young talent to come in, and you really got to make some moves to get the quarterback situation right. You've got Tannehill through the end of next year, but after that, it's definitely some big concerns for the Titans.
Yeah, I'd say at most if you have Tannehill for one more year, maybe try to suffer one last time. Start kind of a soft rebuild, not a full rebuild this season, and hope for the best. Hope you can get some good picks if you just trade away players.
Yeah, they fired their offensive coordinator. Todd Downing was the OC this year. No surprise, their passing offense was 30th in yards, 28th in touchdowns. So And if you're only average with the rushing, it's no surprise your coordinator is going to get fired. But I think they'll probably hire internally someone who works well with Mike Vrabel to fill that position. Is there anyone externally that you think they should look at?
I believe they looked at Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs.
That was Holtz,
Um,
and that was
Colts.
for
Okay,
their head coach position.
it was one of them. I swear I saw something where one of them looked at him as an offensive coordinator, but
Maybe, yeah. It'd be
good
pretty
chance on
interesting.
someone. Be much worse than Todd Downing. They just got to get something on the offense because it's very easy to stop the Titans this year. It's put 9 guys in the box and you call it a day because they can't throw on you. You have 9 guys in the box. There's a good chance King Henry can't get anything going. So
Yeah.
he's
I
simple as far as that went.
Yeah, I will say it's not like they're dead in the water next year if they're not making these trades or something. They've got a lot of youth in Traylon Burks, and they have all these cornerbacks that they've been drafting the last few years, and you hope that they start to take that step and be good. And you can say, okay, we've locked down the passing offense when Tannehill can get it to Burks, and our cornerbacks are going to take that next step. Maybe they focus on bringing in some coaching there to lock down the cornerbacks and really shut people out like that. And then, hey, we've got a guy who will stretch you over the top and break you, and then a guy who will break you in the inside if you're not paying attention. So we'll see what the Titans do. Mike Vrabel's an incredible coach. I think that guy has the job as long as he wants it. So
I couldn't agree more on that one.
yeah, we'll go ahead and move to the Colts. And first off, opening on the head coach position. Jeff Saturday, I'd say he's earned himself an interview, though you can't really say you're proud of what he did when he became the head coach. Would you even consider him for the head coach position?
Consider him, sure. I mean, he was dealt a bad hand. You can tell that just weren't playing motivated football by the time he took over. So at least maybe give him an interview. I wouldn't consider him, but yeah, I think he did earn the right to at least to have an interview.
That's what I think as well. It's not really talked about, but the Colts are actually going to have quite a bit of cap next year. They're going to have $20 million in cap space, so they can make some moves. And I think Jeff Saturday, I think he'll stay in with the team and the organization. He really did bring in some life, and even if they just bring him on as the offensive line coach, the team just improved a lot when he took over, and you really saw the life, and they wanted to play for him. I think that's a good thing. If you want to give him a full year, say, hey, we want you to go out there and tank, and then we're going to fire you. I think that's pretty disrespectful to who he was. But if you want to give him a real position in the team, tell him, hey, we want you to be a positional coach, and if we don't like our head coach next year, we're just going to bring in somebody temporary like the Texans have done. We'll give you another shot. But I think he's got all kinds of options for what they can do. Do you think they'll hire Bieniemy?
Mm, Considering how bad their offense was, I can see it happening.
I think we see these moves every year, and I don't just mean interviewing Eric Bieniemy, but when a team wins the Super Bowl or does really well, we see a lot of teams mimic what they're doing. When the 49ers went to the Super Bowl, everyone was like, let's get all of the 49ers coordinators. And then over the next few years, okay, Mike McDaniels is now on the Dolphins, and the Jets, Robert Saleh immediately went to the Jets, and he was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. And it was just like, okay, that clearly worked pretty well. Hey, Rams just won the Super Bowl with their super young, smart head coach. Let's get our own super smart young head coach. And so the Raiders bring in the. Why can I not think of the Raiders head coach? Josh McDaniels. Let's get a young guy there. The Broncos are trying their guy. The Dolphins are trying their guy. And the Colts are like, we'll take a shot at Jeff Saturday. They're just thinking, let's bring in a lot of youth. But then this year, we saw the exact opposite. That is, we're tired of these guys who just think they're going to change everything up and that's going to work. And we're going to go with Doug Peterson. We know he's a good coach. We need someone who's experienced. I don't see anything wrong with that for the Colts either. If there's a previous head coach who they want to give him a try, I'd say go for it.
Yeah. Obviously, the big name with that one would be Sean Payton. Like, anyone who lands him going to be doing well. Question is where you're going to have to give up because technically he's still under contract with the Saints.
Yeah, I think whatever you do trade for Sean Payton, I think, or whatever team he goes to, I think it'll cost a first round pick. Um, Probably this year would be the best way to do that. But Colts have a lot of cap space, and I think they would be happy to trade for Sean Payton. I'm surprised it's not talking about more, but he's definitely a guy that I would consider for that team. They have a lot of cap space. Free agents this year from the team: Yannick Ngakwe, edge rusher, who's done pretty well. Matt Pryor's been a guard who's been with the team for a while, and then it's not really that big of guys you need to re-sign after that. Ashton Doolin was a serviceable wide receiver for a few weeks this year. Dennis Kelly has played some tackle for them. Their punter Matt Hack. It's not the biggest need for them to go back and re-sign all these guys, but I think they've got cap space and they've got a decent team. If they trade for Sean Payton, I would consider them to, make another run for the title or for the Super Bowl. I don't think they're that far off.
I would definitely say they need to do something about their O line though. Went from having one of the best O lines the previous year to this year having the 30th. Definitely need to improve that. That's probably, I'd say, their biggest issue to address when it comes to draft or free agents. Outside of getting another mediocre quarterback, of course.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think there's going to be a lot of teams out there that need to get rid of the players they'll have, so Colts will be able to rebuild some of that, and hopefully guys like Quentin Nelson return to the form that they're at, so Colts can be good again. And maybe Joe Lombardi was just fired from the Chargers, and he was an offensive coordinator who was very read the field, hit the guy who's the most open on these curl routes, and I think that's the kind of offense you need Matt Ryan to throw to, because he's going to be there next year. I don't think they can cut him.
It's likely not.
All right, and the last team we have in the AFC South is the Houston Texans. Houston Texans have the number 2 overall pick. Shout out to their head coach for getting them that win that gave it to the Bears. I personally love that. He knew he was getting fired. He just gave a little fuck you to the administration and walked out a badass. So good job there from the Texans. What are you thinking already for the Texans? Lots to talk about what they're going to do at quarterback and head coach, but what are you thinking?
Spend your second pick overall on one of the quarterbacks, whichever one is your fancy. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Kentucky guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Will Levis.
Yeah, that guy. I'll put it this way: they could shoot a fish in a barrel, and they'd find something they need. Texans just need a little bit of everything. Have some decent points. Their O-line was average. Damian Pierce looks like he's a decent runner if you can give him a good line and an offense that's balanced enough to where it's not, oh, hey, just focus on him. They keep their receivers, they're okay. They could definitely just use an improvement in just about every single position you can think of.
Yeah, they've got $41 million in cap space next year, and if they're trading Brandon Cooks, they're going to free up a lot of money there as well, so it's like they're going to have a lot of ability to pretty much sign any free agent they want to. I think we'll see a big improvement of their offensive line. They've got good picks, and they have the option to do anything they want, and so there's a lot of players that they can keep and work with. I think it's going to come down to first getting a head coach, and honestly, I think they've got a good pick of players that they can go out with. The Texans have been a team that's been bad for a while, but that's not the biggest issue. They have tons of picks. They have a decently young roster. I don't think they're out of anything.
I can think of now.
Who would be a head
Whoever
coach?
does
Who would be a head coach that you would want to hire to the team? Because I have one in mind. I want to see if you would agree with it.
obviously you have Sean Payton. He's the hot commodity that everyone wants. So I'm going to exclude him for any other future vacant head coach opportunities, just because he's proven it. He's the one everyone wants. Until we hear otherwise, yeah. The enemy would be a decent one. Maybe do something with that offense. I just want to see the enemy finally get the opportunity to head coach. I think he deserves it at this point, so I'm going to stick with the enemy there.
Yeah, right now I think the betting favorite is Dan Quinn of the Cowboys. I think they want to give him another chance, but I think really about any head coach can go there. The guy that I really want to see the Texans hire is Vic Fangio. I think that guy was really good on the Broncos when he was he was on the Broncos since for something like 3 years, and they lost a lot of games, but it's just like when you look at the talent that was there, it's just bad. It's just not anything good, but he just kept putting up this good defense. And it's just the Texans need to rebuild that defense and actually figure something out there. They've got whatever quarterback they want, and I think Vic Fangio will hopefully not just go with the tallest quarterback, but will actually pick a good one. And
yeah,
I think they can do pretty much anything they want, but we'll see. I haven't looked much into the quarterbacks this year. I know Anthony Richardson right now is very polarizing. Will Levis is very polarizing. And then CJ Stroud and Bryce Young have been very well, I guess those are the two best ones, right? I fucking guess. Ugh. And that's about where we're at with those. But did you have anything else to add on the Texans? Is there anyone you want to see the Texans go trade for or anything like that?
I don't know. Like I said earlier, they just kind of need a little bit of everything. So start somewhere. Either get your cornerstone on offense or defense and go from there.
Yeah, we hope Dameon Pierce is huge. Yeah, we hope Dameon Pierce is healthy next year and they're able to keep on that rushing attack that they were really building on when he was healthy. But all right, well, I think that's wraps up our first ever divisional roundup. Before we head out, I have one more announcement to the podcast, and that is that we have officially created a Twitter account. So go follow us on @FalseStartFPod, FalseStartFantasyPod, so @FalseStartFPod on Twitter. I've been posting a good amount of memes there and some super dumb tweets. Josh is going to start. I think he's just got the login, so going to be adding some tweets on there as well. So follow us on there, like the memes we're posting. Josh, you got anything else to add before we close out?
Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Let's hope for a good game Saturday. My phone is currently blowing up. I got to see the moves that our teammate made, or our league mate made in our IDP league. Looks like he just dropped OJ Howard to pick up Robbie Anderson. So if you were curious about the tier of players that are available in that league, that's what moves we're seeing right now.
He's made a lot.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27.
27 roster
27
moves
moves and counting.
since we started the podcast. Loving that from him. Good for him. Improve that team. I want to see it be at least somewhat competitive. We will be back next week to talk about the AFC North. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Josh Newshafer and at Cameron's Ego to find out details about our startup Dynasty League. Only a few spots left there, so hit us up there and make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell on YouTube so you'll be notified for our next episode and so that, of course, you can be ready before the ball is snapped. Thank you.